Hello guys, my name is Tom Antos, and in this video I want to show you a regular scene that's shot in the middle of the day, like you can see up here, and then change it so that it looks like it's actually taking place in the middle of the night. So, the examples I'm going to be showing you up here in this tutorial are actually from my short film Legend of the Bar. If you haven't seen the film, I suggest that you first maybe watch that film before you watch this whole tutorial. Links for the film are actually in the description of this video. Now, before we continue with this tutorial, I just want to thank our sponsor for today. Rocket Rooster offers one of the largest collections of film stock emulsion presets for video. They have 96 core film stocks and 319 film stock emulsion variations, plus 100 blockbuster looks, which are based on Super 35, Super 16 and 35mm film stocks such as Kodak or Fuji and many others. They actually offer right now a Christmas sale, 50% off everything in their store, hundreds of LUTs and tools, cinematic LUT packs for Blackmagic, Panasonic GH4 and 5 and Sony LUT packs. For more info, check out their website, rocketrooster.ninja. Basically, this is kind of how my film looks when it was before any of the effects were done. And like I said, it was all filmed in the middle of the day. Obviously, the moonshot was a shot I got at night. And then here you can see all of these shots were done in the day. But what you'll notice right away is that even though it was done in the middle of the day, and even though it was in Ecuador on a hot day in the middle of the desert, it doesn't actually look like it's so bright, and it the colors don't look like it's in the middle of the day. And that's the first tip I'll give you. Whenever you're shooting a scene that's going to be done day for night, you want to always make sure that your camera settings are already adjusted for that. So what I mean by that is, for example, if we were to look at the actual shot in here, you'll notice that the colors, first of all, they're all kind of going into cyan and kind of blue kind of tones. And also the shot is underexposed. Basically, all the information is here below 60 IRE. And that basically means that it's not a properly, you could say, exposed shot if you were just doing, regular kind of a shot that's supposed to look like it's in the middle of the day. Here, if I kind of do some quick color correction, for example, if I brighten up the shot, so I'm going to increase the exposure. And somewhere there. And then, for example, I'm gonna adjust here the white balance because that it's not like all into these kind of blue colors. So let's say if I did this properly in my camera settings and it kind of made it a little bit warmer, this is more or less how this shot would have looked if I were properly exposing this shot. This is how it actually looks the way we shot it. So. And then what I mean is that, those white shirts that those guys are wearing, you'll notice that these shirts will be completely blown out up here. And again, that's a normal thing because, white is supposed to be bright, right? But when you're doing a day for night scene, obviously the light, or the moonlight is never going to be that strong. So you want to make sure that none of your elements basically in your shot are really clipping. The second they start clipping or being overexposed, basically going here like over 100% or close to it, that's a bad thing because it's just not gonna make the effect look as realistic. So the first thing I'll tell you is you want to make sure that your shot is underexposed, and like I said, I make sure always that I keep everything almost basically below like 50 or 60 IRE like you see in this case, but definitely make sure at least that nothing is going I would say above 90 IRE. And also another thing is you already want to kind of offset the colors because you don't care about capturing too much of the kind of the red colors, but you do want to get all the shades kind of the blue. And again, that's because usually at night with it being actually illuminated by the moon kind of has a bit of that kind of a bluish tint. So if I do, adjust my white balance the way we did it when we shot it, you can see right away it gives you this kind of a bluish, more of a night feel. Now, I don't want to completely underexpose this shot. Now, if this was done back in the day when the day for night was first being done, for example, in the 50s and some of like the early color films, then the way they did it is they actually already were kind of underexposing the film stock. But when you're recording or digital video, you don't want to go too dark because just in case you want to bring up some information, let's say in their face or things like that, you still have that info. You just want to make sure that at the same time you're not clipping the shot. But for example, if I were to underexpose it too much, which is kind of more or less this is how I want the final shot to look. Well, if I made a slight mistake, and let's say, or if I wanted to bring up the information on this guy's face, so I can see, let's see what he's doing, then again, there's not much information there for you to pull or save this shot from. So again, this is kind of a well shot or exposed shot when it comes to day for night. And then the next step is literally just doing the color grading. So, and here in Adobe Premiere, we're just going to take the shot, and again, I'm going to adjust the exposure now, bring it further down, so somewhere there. And another thing I'll tell you is, if I just keep on decreasing this shot, it's going to get darker, but it's also going to get to a point where kind of everything in the, like example, these places like under, for example, the hat here, the face, which were already a little bit darker than the rest of the scene, they're going to get so dark that you won't really be able to make out anything. So usually what you want to do is you want to decrease the contrast. So I'm going to drag the contrast down so that this way, I can see a little bit more information there in the shadow still. So something like that. I might even adjust the temperature, kind of shift it even more towards the blues, and maybe underexpose the shot a little bit more, somewhere there. And then usually the one thing I also do is I'll kind of decrease the saturation, is because I want it to be blue, but I don't want the shot to have too much color, because whenever you're actually getting a shot at night where there isn't a lot of light, usually the darker it is, the less saturated the shot is going to be. So I'm going to decrease the saturation maybe to around 70, 75 in this case. And right there now, if I were to play this shot, it kind of is already looking like it was shot at night, right? And that's kind of more or less what you would have gotten back in the day when films were being shot, day for night, before computer effects were available. Definitely looks better than what we originally had. This now it feels a lot more like it's night. But if you want to take it to the next level, then you want to replace basically the sky here and actually put stars, because that's what we would actually see if it was like a nice clear kind of a night sky. So here I have these two other shots that I'll kind of show you what you should do if you're going to be applying digital effects to kind of further enhance the shot. So first thing is that I actually wouldn't do my color grading right here in my editing application. I'm going to do that all basically in the software where I'm going to be doing the effects. Now in my case, I'm using the Adobe Creative Cloud, so I have Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects, which I'll use for the sky replacement. And so if you have that, then it's actually really cool, because you can just right click on this shot that for example, you want to replace the sky, and just go replace with After Effects composition. And that's actually going to start up Adobe After Effects for you and import the shot and kind of do all your initial settings in After Effects. So here in After Effects, it's going to first ask you to save this project somewhere. So I already did this, I'll just name it test, doesn't really matter. And anyways, you'll notice that it imported our footage in here, and the cool thing is that all basically the sequence settings, resolution, the length of it, time, the in and out points, everything is already preset for us. So I'll go back into Premiere and I'll select the other shot too. Again, right click, go replace with After Effects. And another cool thing actually that will happen is, for example, let's say you're here in After Effects and you're already doing some effects. In this case, let's say, I don't know, I'll apply some quick filter to this shot. So go, let's say, color correction, and apply this, for example, color filter. And I'm going to make it really strong, something really weird. Anyways, whatever I do up here in After Effects will actually automatically be updated here in Premiere, as you notice now. So the cool thing is that now I can basically save my project here in Adobe Premiere. I can close it, and whatever I do now in After Effects, I know that it's automatically going to show up in my Premiere Pro project. So anyways, let's start working on these shots. So the first thing I'll tell you also, and that's again another little tip, is when you're filming, is especially when you have like these kind of bright areas, as you can see up here, our hero's white shirt, you kind of want to position the camera so that all of that stuff is below the horizon, because if you have white on a sky, which is again, sky is usually kind of bright, it's going to be a lot harder for you to isolate that. Whereas you see here, their hats or their scarves on their heads and things like that are darker, so that's going to be it won't be a problem basically pulling out a key out of here. So first thing I'll do actually in this shot though is I'll create a new null object. So go to Layer, New Object. Then I'm going to actually select our original footage, and now I'm going to right click on it and go track the motion. You can track the camera too, but in this case, because we have two like distinctive basically shots or points in this shot, that I can just track the motion. I want to track the rotation and the position. The scale does not change in here, so I don't have to track that. And first I'm gonna, let's say, select this little tree there, or the little bush in the background, something like that. And then let's say pick this little bush there in that corner, so something like that. And I'm just gonna now go you know, hit forward here and analyze this shot. Now you could also use the camera tracker if you, for example, have like more complicated 3D motion, or you could actually use some other software tool if you wanted to track the motion of your camera. There's different ways of doing it. This is the simplest way in After Effects, actually, just to get actual motion data. So this way, you know, even though it's a handheld shot, it looks like the sky, our digital sky, is also moving at the same moment. And once it's done tracking, you can just kind of double check by scrolling through it, and this line should be moving with your shot. So it looks like everything's all right here. So I'm going to now go to our tracker here, go edit the motion target, got to make sure that my null is selected, and then just go apply, and it's going to ask me what I want to apply. I want to apply the X and Y dimensions, and click OK. And now you'll notice that our null should be basically moving with the shot. It's as if it's basically, you know, kind of attached to the background there. And that now allows us to, whatever you put in here in the sky, allows us to basically link it or parent it to that null, and it's going to look again like it's moving with the camera. So I'm going to go back to our project here, and I'm going to actually import a little still image of this kind of a night star sky, which I have up here. For example, this shot. So you notice I just have a whole bunch of random stars. So I'm going to go back here to our composition. Just going to put that on top of our shot. And I'll kind of, you know, position it somewhere there, adjust the scale here, kind of make sure it's a little bit bigger. And just going to basically link it now to our null. So the second I do that, you'll notice that now this sky is moving, as if, you know, again, the same motion as our handheld camera. And now next thing I'll do is I'll create a mask. So I'll just create a simple square mask, and kind of I want to mask it off. Like usually you're not going to see the stars very low to the horizon, so I'm going to kind of go somewhere up here, and now I'll go to our mask here, feather it. So feather it nice and like this, and maybe we'll move this mask a little bit more somewhere there, so it's kind of a little bit stronger here on the top. And then I'll take another mask, and I'll create another mask here to make sure that it never actually goes over the ground here. So this, I'm going to make it a subtract mask, and also feather it a little bit, something like that. Something like that I think looks good. So now if we watch our shot, actually again looks like the sky now is a part of our shot. The problem is it's going over our actors' faces here. So now we gotta create a mask where we're basically gonna cut out our actors and put them on top. So I'll take our original shot, duplicate it here, put it back on top again, and I want to now just cut out the sky, make that sky transparent. So in our effects here, I'm going to right click, go to keying, and I want to key out basically the, you know, the sky. So I'll choose key light, select the color picker, select our sky. Now in here, I'm going to go to combined matte, so I can kind of see whatever is white is, or 100% white is 100% opaque, black completely is 100% transparent. So I kind of want to play around with these settings. So like I said, the sky, I want it to be 100% transparent, so it has to be black. Now our actors here, obviously I don't want that. I want them to be kind of, again, make sure that it, you know, they're basically as close to white as possible. So now I'm going to clip the white area now. So clip this a little further, somewhere there. And now I'm going to also feather it, or basically soften the screen here. So soften it somewhere there. Now I can go to our final result, or actually intermediate result will be good. Only thing you'll notice is, for example, here if I zoom in, is that, you know, the edges here kind of have kind of this white kind of an edge around here. So I can fix that by taking the screen shrink and grow, so I can make it expanded, or I can just shrink it. So I'll just shrink it somewhere to here. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's a very subtle effect. So now, for example, if I show you how it looks with the rest of the shot, you'll notice again This is now how it looks once we've cut out basically the our foreground or our actors' heads. This was before the stars were showing. Now we kind of, again, put their faces back on top of here. Right away it looks better. So there, it looks pretty good. You can kind of play around with the mask if you want, but in this case I don't think it's going to be as noticeable because here's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to now take our sky element, and that's because if you look at this shot, the depth of field was more or less, a little bit narrower, where only our actors here are in focus and the rest of the shot there in the background is out of focus. So I definitely want to take that star background and I want to apply an effect to it where essentially I'm going to make it look like it has it was basically blurred because of that camera's depth of field. So I'll go to blur and sharpen, go camera lens blur. And I can just adjust how much I want it. Let's say maybe you'll make it 4. So kind of somewhere there. And you notice again right away, this is before the effect. This is, how the sky looked. And now with it, you see that kind of blurs those stars out in the background. Now another thing I gotta also do is I gotta just darken the actual shot. Again, kind of how we did it in the first version of this day for night effect. So I gotta take my original shot. So here, I'll take just this underlying layer here. And I'm gonna go to our effects, color correction. If you can do it with levels, with different things. So let's say in this case, if I want to just darken it using levels, I can just take the white point and just kind of darken it like this. So somewhere there. And maybe let's say we can also decrease the contrast like we did before. So brightness and contrast. So we can decrease this and adjust the brightness further. Somewhere there, for example, we're gonna go to also to a photo filter, and it's gonna be kind of a cooling filter, something like that. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll just go and overall just reduce the saturation. So take the hue and saturation and kind of reduce it like this somewhere. I think that looks pretty cool. Our color grading is done. Now I can take all of these effects here that I did and Control C to copy it, and now if I reveal the rest of the elements, you notice that our foreground element here, where we cut out our actors, as again doesn't have that color grading. So I'll select it, I'll apply that same effect to it, and there you have it. Right away now this shot looks a lot proper. And then the last thing I'll do is usually the night sky is not going to be so intense, so I'm gonna just kind of go here to opacity and just decrease that a little bit, maybe put it at 80, something like that. And now we can preview this shot. And there you have it. We suddenly, took a shot that was, again, shot in the middle of the day, made it look like it's night. So this is the kind of cool things you can do these days with off-the-shelf software available to everybody. Now I'm going to basically do the same thing, but in this shot here. So again, to see how fast and simple it is. And in this shot, I'm not going to be blurring the sky because it's kind of a wide shot where most of the background there is in focus. So anyways, this is how quickly you can make your daytime scene look like it was shot at night. Obviously, you have to do this shot by shot. So if you have a lot of shots to go through, it might take a while. But in the case of like a short film like I did, it only took a few days for me to do this. So anyways, once again, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you hit the thumbs up and share this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and also go check out some of my other tutorials, for example even tutorials based on this film, how I did the sound, how I did the editing, music, and even the special effects. So anyways, thank you guys. My name is Tom Antos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.